Welcome to Popcorn Movie Recaps. Today I will show you a 2017 action series film titled The Punisher. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts when Frank was playing guitar and having a flashback of his wife and children. And a flashback of the trauma he had when his wife and children were murdered in his very own eye. He started eliminating members of the gangs that are responsible for the death of his wife and children. Firstly, he crushed two gang members riding a bike, shot them, and drove his truck over the two men. Frank went to Juarez, Mexico, where the cartel leader just arrived from the mission, and they were celebrating the completed mission of eliminating Frank's wife and children. He was lucky to arrive Mexico safely, and was bragging if the Punisher comes to Juarez, Mexico they will kill him. Unknown to him that Frank is already in Mexico, and has already positioned himself with his sniper to eliminate him from a long-range shot. While the cartel leader was dancing and celebrating with the prostitute at the club, Frank targeted a long-range shot. Shot him in his forehead and killed him. Frank had already killed other cartel members, the bikers, the Kitchen Irish, and the cartel leader. Mickey is the last person alive, and was about to board a flight, when Frank attacked him in the restroom and strangled him to death. 6 months later, Frank got a job at a construction site. Frank works extra hours and he resumes early and closes late. Frank passes much of his time taking down an old building. This angers the other workers, who are denied extra pay due to Frank's overtime. While he was working, he had a flashback of the memories with his wife and children and continues to hit the hammer even harder. Because of his hard work, other construction site workers are denied extra pay, so they gang up against him. They destroy his lunchbox. He managed to keep himself cool and didn't fight back. Afterward, a new worker, Donnie Chavez, attempts to befriend Frank, and proves himself to be eager to please the other workers. Donnie has not been happy with the way other construction site workers harass Frank. The construction site worker has a gang comprises of Leo, Scott, Polly and Lance, construction gang. The construction gang are going for launch and intentionally left Donnie behind. At that moment, Donnie goes to meet with Frank at the top of the building to have a chat with him. Frank always goes up there because no one comes there and he can have his private time with himself. Donnie shared his sandwich with Frank and they had a little chat, and Frank told him he was a Marine Corporation. Donnie on the other hand talks about how he lost his father and mother. Frank felt sorry for him, which made him have a flashback on how he lost his family as well. Later that same day, Frank visits Curtis Hoyle, a veteran that he served alongside before his family died, and mentions that his time in Afghanistan involved some activities that he did not want to discuss. Frank visits Curtis in his hall where he welcomes other retired Marine. Curtis helps retired Marine get out of their mental trauma, he gives them hope. On the other scene, Agent Madani was back in the country barely 3 weeks in Afghanistan. Ahmed Zubair of the Afghan National Police was Agent Madani's partner. He discovered United States soldiers were trafficking heroin, and they killed him for it. He was taken to his home in Kandahar, and shot in the head and buried in an unmarked grave. She was really interested in the case. The case was a classified case and she was pulled out of there before she caused her career some real harm. Agent Madani was putting up document against Wolf, her head. He does not want her to continue to pursue the case. She was pulled out of Afghanistan because of something much more bigger than her, and she was close to finding out exactly what. Telling her Kandahar is off limits, otherwise she can quit. She accepted his request to quit. Agent Madani and her partner opened an investigation on a Marine Force recon colonel called Schoonover. The explosion and drug bust at the 41st Street docks last year, and everything available on one of his men, Lieutenant Frank Castle. The assumption was that the Punisher is dead, but that seems not to be true. Castle and Schoonover served in Afghanistan, same unit, then both are dead one day and 20 miles apart, calls for questions. On the other hand, at the construction site, Donnie Chavez, the new recruit, requests the construction site gang to allow him join them at the nightclub that the bills is on him, so they allowed him join them. Lance is having a discussion to take another job to pay up the Ganucci loan sharks. The loan shark is threatening to break his legs, take his car, and everything he owned. Lance and Polly argue for a while as to why he had to take loan from Ganucci sharks, they decided to give their cousin a call, so he hooked them up again for a job. At the construction site, Lance and Polly were discussing about the next job. Robbing the Ganucci and using the Ganucci money to pay the Ganucci. Unknown to them that Frank is seated just next to the wall they are having the conversation. After a while, they realize that Frank has been listening to all they have been talking about. Then they began to threaten him, and asking him to stay out of their way, and mind his own business or he might get into trouble. On the other side, one of their colleagues, Scott, has been injured by the machinery, and cannot be part of today's job, robbing the Ganucci gang, so they went to talk to Donnie to join them for the job. He struggled at first but later agrees to join them, without getting the full detail of what kind of job they would be doing tonight. On the other scene, Agent Madani's mother tried to talk her out of the Schoonover case, that the case is heresy. That the case scares her, and does not want to see her head on a plate. The construction gang drive to the basement where the job is to be performed. Donnie was handed a gun. Polly, Donnie and Lance went inside the basement to carry out the operation. Leo is the driver, he waits for them inside the car. They all wear masks to cover their faces. They disarm the guard at the gate and drag him into the room where the robbing operation would be performed. They request Donnie to pack all the money on the table into the bag. Donnie is scared and was shaky while doing that. The bag handle was hooked against a chair and the money bag poured out. While trying to pack the money into the bag, his driver license falls out. His house address and full name are all visible to the Ganucci gang leader. They hurried and left the basement. Frank was at the construction site breaking down the concrete walls as usual. When Donnie, Polly, Lance and Leo arrived from the robbery. Donnie having exposed his name and address when the driver license fell during the robbery. Donnie was shouting, "Shit, shit, shit. I have made a mistake," that he is sorry. Since the Ganucci have his detail, the construction gang need to make Donnie disappear, because the Ganucci are gonna look for him, and find him and his accomplices. For the construction gang to be safe, they need to eliminate Donnie. Donnie promised he is not going to give them up, but they cannot hold up with that promise. Lance requested Leo to start the mixer. Donnie tries to run but they catch up with him and beat him until he is weak and cannot fight back. They dragged him and threw him into the mixing well. Donnie continued to beg for his life, but they refused. Frank showed up and requested them to shut the mixer off. They refused and they engaged with Frank. Frank uses the construction site hammer to disarm Lance and the other two, Polly and Leo, also broke their bones. Leo is beaten to death and thrown into the mixer well. Polly picks up the gun and aimed at Frank several times but he missed all and the bullet was exhausted. He tries to run away with the car. As he tries to drive off, Frank shots him in the head. Polly and Leo was thrown into the mixer well. Frank asked Lance where they went to rob and breaks his bones if he failed to answer any question he asked. Lance gave out the information of the robbery site, which is in the basement of a restaurant called Little Lowe's in Little Italy. Frank found a home for Lance and threw him inside the mixer well. He then tied a rope to a wall and threw it inside the mixer well for Donnie to help himself out. Frank drives off to the basement of the restaurant in Little Lowe's in Little Italy, where the Ganucci are already making arrangement to look for Donald Chavez. They already got his address and that he lives with his grandmother. Then Frank switched off the light, shots one of the Ganucci men, then a rapid gunfire. There was a constant exchange of gunfire, and Frank kills all the Ganucci gang members in the room, remaining Tony, the Ganucci gang leader. Tony then went and put on the light. He saw that all his men are down. Frank appears at his back and killed him as well. Frank walks out of the basement before police arrive. The end. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notification, so that you can watch more videos like this. Thanks.